Today I'm going to talk you through 10 tips on how to have a successful online lesson. Now there are 2 parts to the series, so make sure you catch part 2 where I'll be covering tips 6 to 10. But for right now, let's look at tips 1 to 5. Tip number 1, good equipment and stable connection. Now this is very important if you want to have a successful online lesson. You don't want to have any technical interruptions. Now I suggest enter your session about 10 minutes before the time. This will allow you to check that your mic is working, that there is good lighting, and there is no background noise. Also remember, you don't need amazing equipment, just equipment that works well and is effective. Tip number 2, eye contact. Now we do this very naturally in our everyday lives, but in the online world, it can be a bit tricky. You want to look at your camera instead of your screen. Now, if you're having trouble with this, try to put a sticker or an arrow next to the camera. This will remind you to look up. Now, the students will appreciate this because it will make them feel that you are engaging and listening attentively. Now, tip number 3, remember to smile. Now, this is quite a simple tip, but with smiling comes a lot of benefits. When we smile, our tone of voice is more positive, we create a more comfortable environment, and the student will feel more positive about their learning outcomes. Tip number 4, build rapport. Now, this is quite a nice thing to do with your student because you want to make your student feel comfortable, and as well as yourself, you want to feel comfortable with each other. Now, there are many ways you can do this. You can ask the student how their day was or how they are, or you can even share a personal story about your dog and how he did something funny this morning. Okay. Tip number 5 is use visuals and color. Now, this is quite important when it comes to primary school kids. They want to see a lot of color and images to stay engaged and attentive. So for example, you can use pictures with color if you're teaching colors. You can use flashcards. You can even make your own clock if you're teaching time, for example. What I found with the little ones is they like little characters. So you could say, what is he wearing? Or what is she doing? With the older ones, you still want to stick with color and visuals. The way to do this is maybe make a flowchart of a concept that you are teaching. This will help the student remember the concept better and will feel more comfortable answering questions on that concept. All right, well, that's it for part 1. Hello, everyone. This is part 2 of our series, Successful Online Learning, and I will be going through tips 6 to 10 with you. Tip number 6, repetition and practice. Now, this is very important for the student's learning process. If we are teaching primary school kids, you want them to repeat after you or repeat examples that they see. You can also give them activities for practice. When we are teaching high school kids, we want to make sure we do the repetition in a different way. So for example, you can give them many different problems to solve or different examples with the same concept repeated. Also remember to give them examples to practice on. This is important because they are able to make mistakes in front of you and you are there to immediately help them. Tip number 7, prompt and elicit responses. Now this is a good teaching tool to get your students engaged and thinking. With the younger ones, for example, you could say, I eat an, and they could say apple. With the older ones, you can also do the same thing. For example, you could say, this number is called, and they could say quotient, for example, in maths. So this is a very good tool to have them try tell you answers and think about the question themselves instead of just giving them the answers. Okay. Tip number 8, rewards. Now this is quite easy to do with the primary school kids. For example, you could give them little stars. Oh, well done, you get a star. Maybe you can say, today we are going to reach for 5 stars today. And then at the end of the lesson, they get 5 out of 5 stars, and this will give them a sense of achievement. With the older ones, it's not as easy, but we can use verbal affirmations. We could say, oh, excellent, oh, what a great idea, or very good question. This will make them feel that they're on the right track and they are learning very well. Tip number 9. Use the whiteboard and other sources. Now, when you are using applications such as Zoom, it's a very nice application where we have a whiteboard. You can share your screen as well. Also, you could use a real life whiteboard. Maybe you want to talk about pros and cons. And this is a very good tool to show your students different forms of learning. And the last tip, tip number 10, parents for guidance. Now, if your student is very confident and comfortable, there is no need for this. But if your student is a bit shy and timid and isn't able to answer questions, make sure you have a parent or guardian sit in maybe the first and second lesson, and then try and ease the student into having independent learning. All right, well, that's it for today. Thank you so much. Bye.